My name is Luke Galbraith. I'm a registered clinical counselor, and the areas that I focus on are working with people with neurodivergence and disabilities, working with ADHD, men's mental health. I do some work with first responders and borderline personality disorder as well. I use a few different approaches. I think to sum it up, the best way to describe it is using both a thought-focused approach and a body approach and combining those two together. So in psychology, we'd call it a top-down and a bottom-up approach. So combining a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is very focused on our thoughts and our thinking and recognizing what kind of things do we need to acknowledge and maybe things that we want to modify or change a little bit, but then also recognizing that our body plays a big role in how we regulate ourselves and be able to have tools that can help bring ourselves into regulation, such as breathing techniques or different pieces that I like to pull from somatic approaches. And I find that a lot of this also is tied together quite well in like dialectical behavioral therapy that I like to use as well. Yeah, so it's a focus on both a little bit of acceptance and change. It was developed to focus on the fact that maybe cognitive behavioral therapy only focuses on thoughts so much and quite often works a lot on change, but not as much on the acceptance piece, and that talk therapy really focuses on kind of that more acceptance piece, but may not often have the same skills and pieces that are brought in with cognitive behavioral therapy. And so the goal of dialectical behavioral therapy was to kind of combine those two and then present it in a way that's easily accessible. So it has a lot of really good small little acronyms and skills that kind of fill out different pieces. And the main areas that it focuses on are mindfulness techniques, being able to be present and bring yourself into the moment, interpersonal effectiveness techniques. So how do we communicate with others? How do we, work on making sure that we can get what we want out of conversations in a way that still brings us self-respect and kind of makes sure that those conversations build and strengthen relationships. And then distress tolerance techniques that are very focused on moments where we might have very tough but short-lived, really intense emotions or things that we just need a little bit of something to be able to get through the moment, and then we can engage some of those other mindfulness tools afterwards. Emotional regulation skills would be the last one, which focuses in a little bit more on like what are emotions, how do we name them, how do we separate them, and recognizing what they do for us, recognizing how we might be able to use these effectively, and kind of checking in, does our emotion fit in the situation, or do we need to find a way to bring it into a little bit more of an effective zone for us. Yeah, I think the best way, if you're new to counseling and you're kind of unsure about accessing counseling, or if you've never accessed counseling before, I think a good place to start is just going through that free consult that we do offer, and that gives you an opportunity to meet the other person, get to spend a little bit of time chatting about what it is that you want out of counseling and what I'm able to provide. And first sessions quite often are focused on kind of building that relationship and getting to know each other. I expect that people are going to want to come in and get to know me a little bit as a counselor. Aside from all the other skills that like I do bring and approaches, the thing that I really value and focus on the most is making sure that I have a strong relationship where we can really have that safe place for people to be able to come and open up about what it is they want to talk about. I think the thing that I always bring through a lot of like my own beliefs is that people are trying their best, and recognizing that people want to be able to engage in skills that are going to be helpful for them and effective for them. And so being able to find ways that work for that person while acknowledging that the person is trying their best to be able to do what it is they can. And if things aren't working, or if we try an approach and it seems like it's not a good fit for them, that recognizing that maybe it's just something we need to change that's going to be useful for that person, recognizing that that person is trying as best as they can. And sometimes that might mean that they don't have the capacity to be able to maybe read a lot of different PDFs or skills, and maybe they want to just practice things in sessions, or maybe it's more helpful for me to kind of adjust some of the skills based on what it is that they're coming in with, so that it's easier for them to be able to do that. I think it's really important to find what's effective for that person, not necessarily just what's in the book or the skill. I think I just really enjoy seeing people are struggling and be able to see that change in being able to have something that is useful and helpful for them, and see them really overcome barriers in a way that you see them blossom and see them engaged with the things that they want to be able to do. That gives me a lot of joy of being able to see people overcome some of those barriers that might have felt like they were kind of impossible to overcome in the past. I love to see people get to that point where they're just like, oh, yes, this is exactly what I want to be able to do. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. That's where I grew up. I did my bachelor's of arts and psychology at the University of Alberta, and I eventually moved here about 5 or 6 years ago, and have really been enjoying it. I like to stay active with a few different hobbies, and we recently got kayaks. I like to go sea kayaking. We've done a few trips around the Broken Islands, and we quite often will go kayaking through the harbor and around those different areas. During the winter seasons, I like to ski and go up to different mountains to enjoy the snow. And outside of kind of physical activities, I also really enjoy just playing games with friends, and quite often play with people back in Edmonton, where I grew up. And every Friday we go and play games together with a few of the engineers that I went to school with. So I'm happy to connect and answer any questions that people have when I first meet with them, in our short little consult. And I recognize that mental health is definitely a stigma that can be hard to address and to reach out. But that when I think about mental health, a lot of people think of like negative things. But I think the other piece too is that there are a lot of positive things of having really good mental health. And the goal of counseling is really to promote that good piece and really build healthy habits that are going to last you a lifetime.